Excellent. Well, welcome to Empowerment with Declarative Language. As you all know, declarative language is about empowering people, describing what they want to do and not how to do it in a simple way. So bicep would probably not be a way to do it simple. And I should type more. Who we are trying to empower is the people who are not experienced in the technologies they're using or trying to use. It could be SQL, it could be PowerShell, it could be desired-state configuration, which can be advanced, or another technology. And the issue here is to enable them to create databases, SQL users, and ensure that are configured correctly every time, all the time, instead of doing it manually and stuff like that. We observed drift in user permissions over time, and we had a manual process and all that. It was terrible. We could use the desired-state configuration, which is declarative, but our developers doesn't know how to do DSC. It would be too complicated for them. So, and the things we did wasn't there in DSC 6 years ago. So that's why we didn't use it at the time. The benefits is that we enable them through the pipeline in GitHub or Azure DevOps to maintain object types that they don't know anything about and do it repeatedly and ensuring the configuration is correct, much like DSC, but simpler. It's readable and understandable by a lot more people than just in IT, and it's less error prone. This is an example of asserting SQL using SQL. And for the people using SQL knows that testing for whether the users exist, what rows do they have, does the database exist, are the recovery model correct, can be quite complex and become quite unreadable. I could use DBA tools. DBA tools makes it easier, but for a person who doesn't know SQL and doesn't know PowerShell, it can be a challenge, and it's not readable for them. And that's why we did this, hopefully. We use a YAML file, declaring what's the database, what's the server, who's the owner, what the database recovery model is, what users should be created, what permissions or roles should they have, what's the defaults, ensuring at every deploy things are the same. The bad thing is it can be challenging to extend to some. We needed to support Azure SQL database, and that does stuff completely different than on-premise SQL. Subscriptions, elastic pool subscriptions, twice, timeouts, such. Another thing was that the design of the structure needs to be very, very good from the beginning, because big changes is going to be breaking changes. And also I talked with Steve Lee, and there's not coming any YAML support in PowerShell. So we are moving to JSON. The bright side, 2 or 3 bucks in a few years, and it just works. I don't create databases anymore. We have created similar stuff for a product called Visual Cron and schedule tasks, and it's much more fun to do the pipelining behind the scenes than doing the databases. And, well, yeah, it's not pretty. That's why the source is not shown. It's a combination of DBA tools, commandlets, AC, CLI, and all that stuff. It's not pretty, really. For the SQL, of course, not for scheduled tasks. Future plans from this inspiration, talk with another guy. The DSC for SQL is now pretty good, so might change the code to use DSC instead behind the scenes, making maintenance simpler, moving from JSON to YAML, not using the PowerShell YAML module, which pretty much only works in 5.1. But even though this is the PowerShell conference, there's other technologies that we can simplify, make it easier for other people to create using declarative languages. One of them is, of course, Bicep, which is declarative but a very verbose language. Creating one A record in DNS in Azure is all this text. It doesn't really make sense, and if other than operations, our team needs to create DNS records. We need to make it simpler and easier to maintain. So we created some code loops and a data structure. So instead of doing all this bicep code, we have just a data structure, and that creates all the DNS for us, which makes it possible for our manager to do DNS now instead of forcing him to do bicep. One of the learnings from bicep is that there are some undocumented features in bicep that makes it a hassle to do some loops because they skip things if it looks alike. So you might just have a for each and it just skips random items, which is fun. And the other thing is doing tests properly, because changing 100 projects because you made a mistake is just tiresome. The good thing is that now we have the code and the configuration completely separated. Makes it easier to maintain both things actually, and less errors in code. Our team became more proactive because we didn't have to do all the ad hoc database creations, all the ad hoc visual cron jobs, all the ad hoc scheduled tasks and stuff like that, and just do it once, and then the pipelines work. And we have an evolution trying it manually, and doing it automatically at the end. I hope to be able to provide the source later at the GitHub. Cheers.